Shalom, shalom, Most High in Christ, bless Israel. I hope everybody is doing well. So we are late as usual, but pray our strength to the Lord. One day we will get it together. We will get it together. But as it stands, let's get this word out. All praises. And as we get set, as I said, I hope everybody had a wonderful week so far. We're now entering into the time of the Sabbath. So I pray we're preparing ourselves to get that going. And so as you can see, today's topic we have is then enter sin. Then enter sin. That is our topic of today. And so we're going to look at some of the things that would have taken place during the time of creation, during the time of Adam and Eve, and so forth. But with that being said, let's get into it, and let's look at 1 John 2 and 15. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15. And let's get this word going. All praises. Here we go again with the technology issues. One day the Most High is going to wisen me up to these things. So pray for me, saints. All right, here we are with our word. 1 John 2 and 15. And it reads, love not the world. All praises. Love not the world. Let's go to Job 9 and 24. Job 9 and 24. Because you see, we want to get into this with 1 John 2. But let's get an understanding of the world, because it's speaking of a love. And it says, love not the world. So what world is it speaking of when it says love not? So as I said, let's get a look at that in Job. Job 9:24. Because a lot of people know that in the Bible there are many worlds. And so the world within itself means a category of people. All praises. So let's look at Job chapter. Not a category of people, categories and groups. Categories and groups. Job 9:24, and it reads, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All praises. So who is that speaking of? That's speaking of the deceiver, Satan. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, and the judges being you and I, the chosen people of the Most High God, the righteous, who are given the authority to judge the earth. And it says, if not, where and who is he? That's it. If not, where and who is he? He is the deceiver, and he is evident in this earth, working through his followers. All praises. So let's get back to where we were in John 2. And we were reading, which verse were we reading? 15? Yes, verse 15. Let's get back to it. It says, love not the world. All praises. So we touched on that in Job. It said, love not the world. let's get another understanding of this word, the world, and why we should not love it. So let's look at 1 John 5. 1 John 5. Book of 1 John chapter 5. And let's look at verse 19. And it reads, and we know that we are of the Most High God, and the whole world lieth in wickedness. All praises, the whole world lieth in wickedness. So there, that's why you see it says in 1 John chapter 2, verse 15, love not the world. So it's not telling you not to love this world, okay, the world of Israel, our brothers and sisters, and the things thereof of the Most High. But it's telling you, love not the world, because it's speaking of the world of man, the world of Satan, the world of the deceiver. All praises. So let's get back to verse 15 and let's read it. It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. All praises. That is why it's telling you to not love the world, nor the things that are in the world. Okay? Because the world is full of deceit, the world is full of lies, the world is full of all manner of false doctrines. All right? So let's finish it. It says, if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. And so what is it speaking to, saints? Brothers and sisters, when it says, if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So it's speaking to Jesus, the Christ. If you love the world, you cannot have the Christ in you. You cannot be a follower of Jesus. And you cannot love the Father, because the love of the Father is Christ's Son, whom he sent into the world to save us from our fallen state. All praises. So let's get a look at that in 2 Peter 1:17. 2 Peter 1:17. 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 17. And it reads, for he received from the Most High God the Father honor and glory when there came such a voice to him from the excellent glory, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. All praises. See, the Most High spoke out. He said, who is his love? His beloved Son. All praises. And let's get a further look at that in Matthew chapter 3 and 17. Matthew 3:17, where the Most High speaks. Matthew chapter 3, verse 17. And it reads, and lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. All praises. So yeah, we see that this is who the Most High loves. Yes, he loves us, but he loves his Son. And that's why the verse says, any man who loves the world and who is in it cannot be of the Most High. All praises. So let's get back to where we were in John. 1 John 2, and we're reading verse 15. 1 John 2, and we are reading verse 15. It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. All praises. The love of Jesus the Christ, the love of our Savior, the love of the people of Israel, the Christ is not in you when you love the world and the things of the world. All praises. So let's read on. We're going to verse 16. Verse 16 says, for all that is in the world, for all that is in the world, neither the things, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. That is what we just read. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. So if you love the world and the things thereof, it's telling you, you love the flesh, you love the things of the eye, and you love the pride of life. These are not of Jesus the Christ. So if you love these things, you love the world, and you cannot love Christ. All praises. So let's understand that, saints. So let's look at, we'll go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 4. The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 4. And let's get some insight on today's topic. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 4. And you know, like I said, today's topic is then enters sin. Then enters sin. So let's begin Genesis chapter 3, verse 4. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. Where are we reading from? Sorry, verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. The first lie that is told in the world, here we see it written in Genesis 3, verse 4, by Satan, that deceiver, where he begins to connive and deceive the woman, where he says, Ye shall not surely die. Because remember, the Most High told Adam and Eve not to touch a certain tree lest he die. But Satan here is telling her that God, the Most High, is lying to her. All praises. So we see where the deceiver is now at work. And we know he's a liar. All praises. So let's look at that in John 8 and 44. Let's see this wicked devil at work. John chapter 8, verse 44. Because we know Satan is the deceiver, the king of lies. John chapter 8, verse 44. Oh boy. Technology, saints, technology slows us right down. All praises. John 8:44, and it reads, Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth. All praises, abode not in the truth. Here it is in the beginning, he is deceiving the woman with a lie. And it says, because there is no truth in him, because he does not have the Father in him, he does not have the Christ in him. He is of himself. So there is no truth in him. All praises. It says, when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. All praises. So that is the devil. There is no truth in him. And he's a liar. He contravenes everything that the Most High God says. He fights against that which is of the Christ. And so we see here the first lie where he's deceiving the woman. Let's go back to where we were in Genesis. And let's read verse 5. And it says, Fair God doth know that in the day, my bad, since it says, For the Most High God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened. All praises. Said, then your eyes shall be opened. And here we see this is the first temptation of desire of the deceiver. All praises. The first temptation of desire of the deceiver upon the woman. Let's get a look at that in Revelations chapter 12, verse 9. Revelations chapter 12, verse 9. The book of Revelations, chapter 12 and 9. And let's see what that says. Where am I? 12 and Revelations. I'm supposed to be at Revelations 12 and 9. Here we are. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All praises. So here we see, he is the devil, the great deceiver, that great dragon, and he was cast out. All praises, cast out. And so here we see he is now at work, working on the created woman by the Most High God. Let's get a further look at that in Daniel 8. Daniel 8 and 25. The book of Daniel chapter 8 and 25. Where this crafty old Satan, he's all over the book. Hard at work, trying to distort the people of the Most High God. Always out to deceive us. All praises. Daniel 8 and verse, which verse do I want? 25. Let's see what that says. And it says, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. All praises. See, that's the power of Satan. It says, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. All praises. That's the Most High telling you the power that he is given unto Satan in this world to deceive many. All praises, to deceive many, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And that's what he's doing now, putting himself above the Most High God when he comes to the woman to deceive her, to lie to her, to show her he is wise and that he knows all things, that the Most High is a liar. And by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, just like I said. Work against everything that is of Christ. That is his part. But he shall be broken without hand. All praises. In the end, he shall be broken without hand. Let's look at Job chapter 12, verse 16, and get some more understanding on that. Old wicked Satan. Job chapter 12, verse 16. And it reads, with him is strength and wisdom. He deceives the deceiver. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. Say, the deceived and the deceiver are his. So all those that work iniquity, do wickedness, lead our people astray, they are the deceivers. And all those who follow wickedness, who follow the deceiver, who follow those that lead our people astray, they are the deceived, and they are all of that wicked devil, that deceiver Satan. All praises. So let's go to verse 6, back to John, 1 John chapter 2, verse 6. 1 John chapter 2 and verse 6. Verse 16. 1 John chapter 2, verse 16. And it says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh. Now, where am I, saints? I'm getting lost in my reading. I'm in Genesis. Follow me here. Follow me here. Go back to the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis, chapter 3. I'm losing myself in my own word. Genesis 3, and we are at verse. Which verse are we at? Verse 5. Genesis 3 and verse 5 says, for the Most High God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Knowing good and evil. As I said, this is the first temptation of desire by the deceiver, Satan, and he's working here on the first woman. All praises. So this stems back to where we read in 1 John. Okay? And that's the moral of today's class. Then enters sin. Because we see the first lie Satan told the woman. Now we see the first temptation of desire being set upon her. All praises. Let's read verse 6. And it says, when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, 1 John chapter 2. And it read, this is where she says, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that's the lust of the flesh that we read in 1 John, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, the lust of the eyes that we read in 1 John, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. That is the pride of life that we read in 1 John. So here we see where sin now begins to enter. Here we see where sin now begins to enter. Our praises. And so we know that Satan is a deceiver. We know that the woman has been lied to. We see where she had been tempted. Now we see where she has taken into the deceit and the lie. And now she begins to lust. All praises. And let's look at, where are we in verse 6? It's pleasant for the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. All praises, and he did eat. And here we see this is the fall of man through sin. Right there, when the man took the fruit from the woman who was deceived by Satan and he ate it. That is the beginning of the fall of man through sin. Where we see that and understand that in Romans chapter 5, verse 12, where it says, through one man sin death entered the world. It speaks here from Genesis chapter 3, verse 6, where Adam did eat the fruit, which he knew that the Most High said he should not touch that tree, nor eat of the fruit of the tree. But he fell to the will of the woman who was deceived by Satan and lied to by Satan. And here she, in her own part, unbeknownst to herself, deceived man and caused the fall of all men through sin. by her deceit. So let's read verse 7. And the eyes of them both were opened. And the eyes of them both were opened. And here it is, into sin, into the world. And the eyes of them both were opened, because now they have become understanding. They have become knowledgeable. They have become wise to know the things that are happening to them, the things that they should not have done. So they know now, as Satan said, right and wrong. All praises. So let's finish reading. It said, and the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked. So here it is, sin enters. They now have the pride of life, because they know they're naked. So when we, who are flesh, know that we're naked, we want to hide, we want to cover ourselves, we don't want to be seen. Whereas those who live in the world, like we read in 1 John 2, they walk around naked as if it's nothing. They don't care, because they have embraced the sin. But Adam and Eve, they have become wise to know right and wrong. And they know now that they're naked. And so they have now been introduced to the pride of life. Meaning, oh, we're naked. We should cover ourselves. And so now we see it says, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. All praises. They sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So let's look at verse 8. And they heard the voice of the Lord, the Most High God, walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And they heard the voice of the Lord, the Most High God, walking in the garden in the cool of the day. All praises. So when they heard that voice, something sparked in them. Because remember, the pride of life has now entered into them. Because before that temptation, before that acceptance of sin, man was made filled with the Spirit of the Most High God, clean, undefiled. All praises. And we see that in Genesis 2:7, where God formed man from the dust of the ground and he blew his breath into him and man became a living soul. So they were uncorrupted until this very moment. All praises. Had no idea of wrong, had no idea of right, had no idea of sin, had no idea of lies, had no idea of deceit. And Satan came there and introduced sin into the world of the man of God. All praises. So Satan just then deceived the whole world through one act with the greatest sin, lust, which leads us to all fleshly and intangible carnal desires. That lust that he introduced to the world of man, to the world of the man of God, that entices us to fall away from God, to deny the things of God, and to entertain our flesh and our earthly desires. So let's go to the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew. We'll read Matthew 7. Matthew chapter 7. And what do I want? Verse 7, 15. Matthew chapter 7 and 15. Let's get an understanding. It says, beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. And so, brothers and sisters, that is telling you that there are deceivers out there in the world, people who are hard at work trying to lead us astray, because they are the followers of Satan, as it said in 1 John 2. If ye are of this world, ye cannot be of the love of the Most High God, which is Christ. They don't have Christ in them. They don't follow Christ. They don't believe in the Most High God. So they will come at you and try to deceive you with all manner of carnal, lustful desires, with all type of false doctrines, anything that they can deceive you with. Because I think it's in Matthew where it says, Satan desires you. He wants to sift you like wheat. And that's what it's all about. So let's look at that and get some understanding in 1 Timothy 6. 1 Timothy chapter 6. 1 Timothy 6 and verse 3. It says, if any man teach otherwise, and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our Lord Jesus Christ, and to the doctrine which is according to godliness, he is proud, knowing nothing, but doting about questions and strifes of words, whereof cometh envy, strife, railings, evil surmisings, perverse disputing of men of corrupt minds, and destitute of truth, supposing that gain is godliness, from such which draw thyself. So you see, beware of the wolf in sheep clothing. They come as Satan, the deceiver. They are of him, because they are of this world, and they want to pull you into this world and take you away from the Most High God and his love. All praises. So we have to be mindful. We must be careful. Let's get a further understanding of that in Galatians chapter 5. Galatians 5. Satan is hard at work, brothers and sisters. We have to understand that. And he never tires. He never stops. When we get tired, he's still coming at us. When we get hungry, he's coming at us. When we go to sleep, he's coming at us. All praises. So we have to be mindful of what is going on in our lives and the lives of our loved ones, in our workplaces, even in our places of worship. Because we know in Israel, our brothers and sisters, we're not all 100% of the Most High. Yes, we say. Yes, we pretend. But inwardly, remember what it says? Inwardly, wolf in sheep clothing. So let's look at this Galatians 5, and we start at verse 19. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High God. All praises. So we see these things here. All these are of the lust, which Satan deceived the woman, and therefore she caused the man to fall through sin and bring about all of these carnal desires into the world and place them into the flesh that the Most High had put his spirit in, which was uncorrupted, undefiled, pure. And through that one act of sin, the whole world is condemned. All praises. So, saints, you have to be mindful, as I keep saying. Let's be mindful. So let's further get some understanding on this. Let's go to Romans 1 and 21. The book of Romans, chapter 1 and 21. Because Satan does not care about you. Satan cares about no one but himself. That's why we read it. It says he speaks of himself. He doesn't speak of the Most High God. He does not speak of Christ. He doesn't speak of you and I, but he speaks of himself. All praises. So Romans chapter 1, and we'll begin at verse 21, which reads, because that when they knew the Most High God, they glorified him not as the Most High God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. You see that? Because that when they knew the Most High God, they glorified him not as the Most High God. These are, remember what we read in Job, the deceived. They knew the Most High God, or they know of the goodness of God, or they know of the Most High God through the reading of the scriptures. And they glorified him not as the Most High God, because they had variance. They were of this world, as we read in 1 John. All praises. And neither were they thankful, because you know the gifts of the Most High God: health, strength, long life, prosperity, all of these things. But you were not thankful. You know the gift of the Most High God, his Son, who came, who died for our sins. You were not thankful, but became vain in their imaginations. That's how Satan deceived Eve. And she started to imagine, that sounds good. I want that. And I want that for my husband, the man that the Most High God created for me. And so she became the deceiver now, just as Job said. Both the deceiver and the deceived. So Eve was first to deceive, and then she became the deceiver. All praises. And it says, vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. So now your heart becomes darkened, corrupted with the lusts and the desires of this world. And you want to follow and partake in the things of the deceiver, Satan, by telling lies, breaking the dietary laws, eating all these unclean foods, not upholding the Sabbath, not reading the scripts, not wearing your fringes. All praises. So your heart has become darkened and turned. Verse 22, it says, professing themselves to be wise, they become fools. Yes, you profess yourself to be wise because you say you're a follower of Christ. You believe in the Most High God. You say you love Christ, but you do not do the things that Christ commands you to do. He says, if you love me, then keep my commandments. But you want to follow another doctrine. You want to be a Christian. You want to do away with the things of God. So now you profess to be wise, but you are a fool. All praises. Verse 23. And it says, and change the glory of the uncorruptible Most High God into an image made like to corruptible man. Yes. We know what that's going into. The image of the beast. Where they paint a picture of a white Jesus and pushed it upon the earth forcing us to worship it, saying that that is the Son of the Christ, sorry, the Son of the Most High God, when we know it's a lie. It's blasphemy and heresy. All praises. And it says, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Yeah. When we take up idolatry, and we worship the animals, because you know back Elam, they worship the elephant. The Edomites, they worship the eagle. And the creeping things, you know, Elam, they worship the snake also. So all of these things are what was introduced to the first sin, the act of lust. Verse 24 says, wherefore the Most High God also gave them up to uncleanness, to the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. And you know what that's going into. Verse 25, who changed the truth of the Most High God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator. You desire your flesh and the carnal desires of the flesh more than you desire the Most High God and His love and the things of Him. All praises. Who is blessed forever. Amen. Verse 26, for this cause the Most High God gave them up unto vile affections. He gave you away. Because He know the deceiver will deceive many. And that's why it says, when we read it, where the Most High gave Satan authority to tempt us, to deceive us. All praises. Say, for this cause the Most High God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. Even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. So brothers and sisters, there was nothing new under the sun. This was happening way back in the day, in the time of Paul. And we see it happening today and we think it's something strange or new. It is strange because we who have partaken and come back to the Most High God, we see that as being wrong. We know that is a sin, which is not, or which was not openly practiced, but is now becoming prevalent and a way of life. All praises. Verse 27, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another. You see that? Burned in their lust. That's why you see the Apostle Paul says, better to marry than to burn. See, because this is what the burning causes. It leads to abominations, lasciviousness. Was it the word concupiscence? Forgive me, I try to pronounce it, but that's what it leads to. Strong, lustful desire, just for the flesh. And you only want to have sex with somebody, it doesn't matter to you. But you justify it by saying it's natural. All praises. Men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat. All praises. Verse 28, and even as they did not like to retain the Most High God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient. You see? That is what it said when we read it. It said God gave Satan the authority. And here we see it comes back and says He gave them a reprobate mind. He gave them up. That is His will. So that all things can be fulfilled, which are of the Most High God, all prophecy, all doctrine, everything that the Most High said everything that the Christ said, that is their purpose. So that's why you see the Most High gave them a reprobate mind. A reprobate mind is those people who are lost, fighting against the will of the Most High God and His Word, deep in sin, refusing to understand and adhere and come to the will of the Most High God. They are reprobate in their mind to do those things which are not convenient. That is their purpose. 29, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of the Most High God, and they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Who knowing the judgment of the Most High God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. You see that? We know that we are willfully sinning and that we are worthy of death for doing these things. Not only do the same, but we do it anyhow. And the ones who haven't done it, who see us doing it, know that we are worthy of death. We also do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. You see that? But have pleasure in them that do that. So that is us being seduced. We take pleasure with the men of sin. And we do it. But we say we are wise, and so become fools because we think we are righteous. But we are partaking in the sins by following variants of all kinds of false doctrines, eating the unclean foods, being enticed to go to church on Sunday. They say, but have pleasure in them that do them. That is us. But we call ourselves the chosen people of the Most High God. We say we are in this truth. All praises. We say we are in this truth. So where are we now? Romans 1. We read 1 to 32. Sorry, 21 to 32. Let's get a look at Colossians chapter 3, verse 5. Colossians chapter 3, and we'll read from verse 5. And here we're being admonished by the Apostle Paul in the letter to the Colossians, where it says, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth. Mortify your members which are upon the earth. And here he expounds on that. Same things we read in Romans, same things we read in Galatians, same things we read in Timothy. It says fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence. That's the word I was trying to pronounce right there, brothers and sisters. Evil concupiscence. You can have a word in your head, you can try to pronounce it, but if you do not see it in writing, you cannot pronounce it. And it also goes on to say, and covetousness, which is idolatry, for which things sake the wrath of the Most High God cometh on the children of disobedience. All praises, for which things sake the wrath of the Most High God cometh upon the children of disobedience, in the which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them. So we've all been there. Because as I said, that first lie, that first temptation, and through the fall of man, through that sin, where Adam was deceived and gave into the lust and ate of the fruit, then enters sin. So we all have been tempted, tried, fallen. All praises. So it's nothing new, but we have to get up. We have to press on. We have to fight. We have to resist. Because the lust of the flesh, that burning desire, it overwhelms us. At times we're going to give in. But we have to know that we need to repent. We need to seek the Most High. But we cannot fall every time, and we cannot become reprobate. We cannot become reprobate, because when you commit a sin, you don't immediately fall. You become conscious that you know you committed a sin. You become aware that you should go to the Most High and ask forgiveness. But you become reprobate when you commit that sin. You say, oh man, I sinned. And you move on to another sin. And you continue sinning. You become reprobate. All praises, and that we do not want, saints. That we do not want, because that leads to, for which things sake the wrath of the Most High God cometh on the children of disobedience. So even if we fall, let's get up, brush ourselves off, ask forgiveness, and move on. We must study the word, saints. We must pray so that we can rightly discern the things of the Most High God and that of the deceiver, to know the difference. All praises. Because remember, if we say we have the Most High God's love, that means we have Christ in us. And so that's like it said in 1 John 2. If you love this world and partake of the things of this world, then you are not in the Most High God, nor in his beloved, which is Christ. So we have to study, like it says in the book of 1 Timothy 2:15. Have to study to show ourselves approved, so that we can discern the things of the Most High God and those of the deceiver. So we do not want to be deceived, used, led astray. Let's look at that in 1 John. 1 John 4. 1 John 4. 1 John 4. It says, ye are of the Most High God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than that is in the world. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. My praises. And that speaks leaps and bounds, just like we read in 1 John 2:15. Let's look at that. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15. Was that verse 15? It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. All praises, the love of the Father is not in him. And so we see that back here. 1 John 4, verse 4. Ye are of the Most High God. We are not of the world. Little children, and have overcome them, them being the lust of the desires of this world. All praises. Because greater is he that is in you. Remember we read that, 1 John 2. The love of the Father. So that's what it speaks to. Greater is he, that love of the Father that is in you. Jesus the Christ. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. All praises. So we have to be mindful. We have the authority to overcome any lustful desire, any temptation. Because we have Christ in us, who strengthens us. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's what it speaks to. 1 John 4:4. For therefore speak they of the world. Sorry, where am I? 4:4. It says, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. All praises. So let's go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 10. And we're going to start at verse 11. 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 11. It says, nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman. Sorry, where am I? Sorry. I tell you, these technology will lead you astray. You know what you're reading, you know what you want to read, but it puts you where it wants to put you. 1 Corinthians 10, and we'll start at verse 11. It says, now all these things happen unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition. And they are written for our admonition. Admonition, it means for us to know, for us to see, for us to understand, and it warns us not to do these things, or not to fall to these things, or not to partake in these things. So they are written for our admonition. And it reads on, upon whom the ends of the world are come, and that upon whom the ends of the world are come, that speaks to us. We are those who are living in the end times. That's why these writings were created. That's why the Most High preserved them. That's why the Most High had them set and given to us. Because remember what he told Daniel, seal up the books. We were in a time when these were not available to us. But now it says, remember in Daniel it says, until the end times. And here it comes back and says, upon whom the ends of the world are come. We are the people of the end times. That's why you see there's a rise in the consciousness of the Most High God's chosen people. That's why Israel is awakening, because the prophecies are being fulfilled, the prophecies from Daniel. Then the Most High told Daniel to seal it up until the end times. And now it comes back in 1 Corinthians and it speaks prophecy. It says, now all these things happen unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. So these things were written for us so that we can wake up, because the Most High is tired of us being lost, deceived, living in sin. All praises. Let's look at, where are we? Oh, we're reading to 13. And it says, wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed, lest he fall. Lest ye fall. So you have to be admonished. Look at the examples. Read the word, so that you don't partake and fall or be deceived. Verse 13, there hath no temptation taken you, but such as common to man. Like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. The first temptation had already happened. And we see the outcome of that. They fell. So there's nothing new from way back then to now. People have been tempted. So but such as is common to man, there's nothing new. But the Most High God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. The Most High will put nothing on you that you cannot bear. not more than you can bear. He knows you in and out. He knows what you can take, and he knows who cannot take. That's why he said he gave us reprobate minds and gave us over to the deceiver. And that's why he gave Satan the agenda to come and reap his people. Because the Most High has people, although the Bible said he wished that all should not perish. But that's why he gave us choice, that we can choose to come back to him, or we choose to follow the deceiver. All praises. It says, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape. With the temptation will also make a way to escape. And he gave us the way. That's why it says, now all these things happen unto them for an ensample. That is the way. And they are written for our admonition. That is the way. That's the way out, saints. Brothers and sisters, we have to read, we have to pray, we have to follow the examples of Christ, keep the commandments. These are the ways out from temptation. That ye may be able to bear it. That is the way out. That ye may be able to bear it. All praises. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. They say, wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. Worshipping all these false doctrines. Worshipping all these animals. Worshipping all these chains, all these charms, all these tattoos. All praises, flee from these things. It says, I speak as to wise men, judge ye what I say. That's what Paul is admonishing. I speak to wise men. You're supposed to be wise because you're supposed to know the scriptures, you're supposed to be full of the Spirit of the Most High God. So if he's lying to you, you should know. All praises. That's why he says, judge ye what I say. And that's how we're supposed to judge all things. Because the deceiver will come and he will tell us things. But if we do not judge through the dividing of the word of the Most High, we will be deceived. All praises. We will be deceived. So let's go to the book of Ephesians chapter 6. The book of Ephesians chapter 6. Let us read from verse 10. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. All praises. Verse 11, put on the whole armor of the Most High God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. All praises. Read that again. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Verse 13, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. All praises. We know what is the whole armor of God. The Bible and the sword. The Bible and the sword, the buckler, the shield, all. All praises. That is Christ. That's the word of God. That is prayer. These are the things that we are to put ourselves in so that we can withstand the wiles of the deceiver, the devil. So with that, I say shalom. Most High in Christ bless. I hope you have a wonderful day and a beautiful upcoming Sabbath. Get some rest. Shalom. Most High in Christ bless.